Today we're going to be talking about the difference between average quarterbacks and elite quarterbacks. Now, how this video is going to go is we're going to explain something that a lot of average quarterbacks do, and then we're going to compare it to something that elite quarterbacks do, which make them more efficient. So the first one is going to be having to load up when they throw. So I'm sure you guys have all seen, especially you younger guys, high school guys have this issue, is you'll be standing in the pocket. Let's say I'm going from read to read. Let's say my first read, for example, is like a whip route from my slot receiver, and then my second read is my outside receiver running a 10 to 12 yard in, right? So a lot of guys will look at the first read, it's not there, they'll reset to the second read, and then they load up into this back leg and they have this big dip down to start their motion, right? They may be mechanically sound, but that dip down is wasted time. Now, why is that wasted time? Why does that even matter? It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, because as you elevate levels in football, youth to high school, or let's say youth to middle school to high school to college, every single level that you level up is going to be a faster game, faster defense, faster DBs, so you have to make sure that we have no wasted motion in the pocket. So I'm looking at my first read, I want to be already set. I want to have 65 to 70% of my weight on my back leg. I reset, I want to stay there. So now I can just get this ball out of my hands. Anytime that I have to dip down and load up, that creates wasted motion, wasted time, and I am late on the throw. So we should have no wasted motion as a quarterback, and that's the first thing, the difference between average and elite guys. Now, before we get into the second difference between average quarterbacks and elite quarterbacks, if you are a QB and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we're going to be coming out to 14 more cities across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, if you would like to train with us. We're going to be coming out to Miami, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, Charlotte, North Carolina. All three of those camps, though, you guys, are completely sold out. But then we'll be having other opportunities, of course. We're coming out to Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So again, guys, if you want to sign up, want to get some more info, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. The second difference between average quarterbacks and elite quarterbacks is elite quarterbacks are rotational throwers, while average quarterbacks are more linear throwers. So let me explain. So by linear, I mean a common mistake that a lot of quarterbacks will make in the pocket is they'll be set up, they'll get to a good base like we talked about, not having to load up, they'll have 60-65% on their back leg, but what they will do is they will take that 60-65% and they will push almost like a pitcher off the mound to try to generate power and generate torque, pushing in a straight line. Now, like I said, if you are a linear thrower of a football, it's not a baseball, guys, a linear thrower of a football, that is going to be incorrect, and I'll explain why. Because when you have this linear step and your feet are very wide outside your frame, it makes it very, very tough for you to be able to rotate with your hips. So when you can't rotate with your hips, what ends up happening is to generate power, because quarterbacks were rotational athletes by nature, you will start to dip your head, pull your shoulder down, swing your elbow open to create power, but that affects my release and that affects my accuracy. I'm going to be inconsistent. The biggest difference, honestly, guys, average guys, elite guys are consistent. And when they miss, it is not a bad miss. Average guys, they have a good throw and then they miss by a mile on the next throw. And all that has to do with is being inconsistent with your hips and your throwing sequence. We want to be rotational. A lot of that comes from having a short front stride. So when I'm in my throwing motion, my weight's back, my weight's loaded, I want to step, and that's totally separate from my backside. That's totally separate from everything. I'm just stepping to get my foot in the ground. I separate my hands, my feet are inside my frame, so now my hips can rotate me through. I don't need to dip my head. I can keep my head still. I don't need to pull this down. I keep my hands still, so my release stays in a consistent spot. I can snap, I could finish, and be more accurate with the ball. Consistency is everything when you're comparing two quarterbacks against each other. The next difference between average and elite quarterbacks is elite quarterbacks have something called a pre-snap process. So what is a pre-snap process? Now, average quarterbacks, they'll come up to the line of scrimmage, they get a play called. Let's say the play call, let's keep it simple. Let's say I have two receivers on the right side, it's doubles. I got a 5-yard out and then I got a fade from the outside. Now, what that quarterback will do is he'll just come into the line of scrimmage. Our read key on that play is the corner, right? So they will disregard the entire coverage and just stare right at the corner, set, go. They'll try to read the corner, and then they throw. Now, that's going to make you behind on the play, and I'm going to explain why. It's because you didn't have a pre-snap process of identifying the actual coverage. So that play concept, 5-yard out fade, is great against a cover 2 defense. Why is that great against cover 2? Because in cover 2, what is the corner in charge of, right? We see that there's 2 eye safeties. Both of those safeties have deep halves of the field. The corner is in charge of the flats, right? So if we see that and we identify that it's cover 2, safeties are very wide, they're in a skinny back pedal stance, I'm automatically thinking, okay, it's probably cover 2. I'm gonna look to this 5-yard out, but I know that corner's probably, you don't wanna anticipate it like that, like where you just guess, but probably gonna crash down, so I can anticipate and throw that fade ball on a line in that whole shot before the safety can get over there. That's a pre-snap process. So don't be that quarterback that just comes up to the line, okay, that's my read, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna throw. That's how you get picked off. That's how you don't recognize blitzes. That's how you don't recognize different things that a defensive coverage is trying to do. The next difference between average and elite quarterbacks is the ability to put mistakes behind them, right? So as a quarterback, like obviously all the pressure's on you, right? You're one of those guys that everybody's looking at you. If you win, everybody's praising you. If you lose, everybody's criticizing you, right? Now, a lot of guys, they don't know how to put the mistakes behind them. A lot of guys will come out to the field, they throw a bad pass, they throw a pick, they throw a really bad interception. Guys, it happens, right? It's gonna happen to everybody. It's inevitable about the position. You don't want it to happen. You don't set out for interceptions to happen or bad throws to happen, but it's gonna happen. Now, the average guys, they'll throw a pick, and that is all they're worried about. They come to the sideline, they're pissed off, they can't stop thinking about the pick, and their performance and their like kind of just mental, I guess you could say, clarity just goes like this because they're worried about the last play. You need to have a next play mentality and move on from the mistakes. You should have the attitude, and this is what all elite guys are able to do. Because honestly, guys, when you get to a certain level, college ball, elite level high school ball, NFL ball, of course, all these guys can freaking throw the ball. They're all great, but what separates guys? What makes Tom Brady so much different from a guy who's just, you know, like a backup on an NFL roster? They throw the ball, honestly, you guys, probably pretty similar. It's more than just throwing the ball. A lot of it's above the neck, preparation stuff, and things like this. Having the ability to be able to flush the negative plays. So if you throw a pick, come to the sideline, learn from the pick. It's not a mistake. You either have a successful play or you learn from the play. And that's the mindset that you need to have, especially at the quarterback position. If your mind is not clear and you're not focused on the next play, your responsibility, your performance is greatly going to suffer, and you will not be an elite quarterback.